So if you think about it this way, I came to the company in September of 1988 working for Michigan Bell. Okay. So in 1988, what you know as Ameritech was an overall holding company, but you still had the individual Bell companies within the 5 states. So you had Ohio Bell, you had Wisconsin Bell, you had Michigan Bell where I hired in, you had Indiana Bell, you had Illinois Bell. So you had 5 different Bell companies with Ameritech as the overall arching holding company. But those 5 different states with their 5 different companies actually had 5 different board of directors. Literally. So we weren't promoting African Americans, we weren't promoting women, etc. So the company was, by the government, put under a consent decree, which means they monitored everything and said you must do better in terms of hiring, promoting, utilizing African Americans, women, etc. That consent decree was for 5 years and it was expiring in 1979. So Michigan Bell, being part of the original AT&T, was covered by the consent decree. Every single state was. Now, so 1979, I haven't gotten to the breakup of the Bell system yet. See, Michigan Bell is still part of the big AT&T. So there were regular statistical reviews with the executives on the status of black folks, literally. So we would, when I first came in, one of the things they asked me to do was to chair the statistical review committee. And we would have statistics, and you may see some of that in some of the stuff I brought with me today, some of the old documents. We actually had statistical reviews with the executives on the status of African Americans at every level in the business, in every department. So when I came in 1988, and Teresa Osborne, Dwayne Goldsmith was a young leader that they brought into business, Roosevelt Williams, Myron Frazier, Bob Cooper, Mr. Bob Hurst Jr., Robert L. Hurst Jr., who's the reason why I got promoted in the first place, another conversation. But they asked me to be the statistical chairperson. And what we would do as a statistical chair is we would actually, by now in '88, get the information from HR.
They would be working together.
We would work together. We understood it was proprietary information, couldn't be shared. But we would actually look at, let's just say, I'm in installation and repair. I'll just take the outside guy. That's always a big department.
Right.
We would literally take a look from a statistical point of view of the pay of black males, black females versus white males and white females at every salary grade, basically first, second level managers. We would actually look at their base pay and then we would compare their bonus. Because our principle was simple. If populations are normal, then we would expect from a statistical point of view that the pay of African Americans would be in line with the pay of whites.
Okay.
And I can remember one statistical review, and there was another brother named Rob Davis who gave me some of the information. He was an engineer in, he was a network engineer in Michigan, originally from Chicago here. But I remember we were in one specific presentation, there was a white manager who asked, how long are we going to have to do these statistical reviews? Yeah, everybody wasn't happy about it. See, that's, when you look at it from history, yeah, you may have, I'll say, support from your HR group and your operational people too, or at the very top. That don't mean that everybody below them will support it.
Yes.
Right, so I can remember one question was asked, and I was in the presentation, how long are we going to have to do these statistical reviews? So we would do it at a company-wide basis, and then we would do it for each individual operating department.
Okay.
Salary grade, bonus, and the answer was simple because I got coached and taught. As long as I can predict that the pay of African Americans will be less than that of majority employees or white employees, we'll need to have statistical review. I mean, literally, if populations are normal, then statistically speaking, I should see the pay of African Americans, the pay of Hispanics, or whites should all be the same. If I can always predict with accuracy that the pay of blacks will be less than whites, then I need to have a statistical review. And we would talk about, so we would talk about pay. The other big issue we would talk about is promotions. And then we would talk about profiles. Now, I was coached years ago by all those folks I mentioned. If you ask us what the most important thing is, it's profiles. Because if I don't have you in the population, I can never promote you, and I can never pay you. Okay? So Michigan was very sophisticated in these statistical reviews. These statistical reviews happen at least twice a year at the corporate level. I'm talking about with the chairman and all his direct reports. We would have a statistical review with them, and then we would go to the direct reports to the chairman and come down to their departments. So you can imagine when Ameritech began to form across all 5 states, Michigan would say, what are you doing in Illinois? Well, y'all didn't nobody have that type of sophistication, because in defense of everybody else, I don't care whether Wisconsin or Ohio, they didn't have that kind of support. Okay, and you didn't have the political power in those other cities that you had in Detroit. You had Coleman Young as mayor, you had a powerful, you know what I mean?
Yes,
It was just,
the people were there.
at that time, you're talking the 80s now, you're talking a certain amount of power that you didn't have in other cities, and they leveraged that power. I give them credit. They purposely made alliances with the Urban League, with the NAACP, with other black employer organizations and other companies in Detroit. So you had a very powerful group that said, okay, now I see.
We did professional development. We did seminars all the time. We did lunch and learns with officers. Kathy Coughlin was such a strong advocate of community network. She, I will never, ever, and I say this to everything.
I will tell you that over time, even I was surprised when they interviewed me back in February for Black History Month. They actually put pay, promotion, and profiles in the article. I was shocked. And the fact that I hired in 15 years after the consent decree expired.
And that is so critical, because members need to know that what they are putting their energy to, what they're putting their monies towards, what they're, if they have an association with, that it is something that has integrity. And that was so critical for us, because we like being able to go out and say, you need to be part of this.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody say, wow, I can tell you why. Elaine created talking points. I can tell you why.
and things like, when you have membership meetings and you want your members to show up, because you would like to have a membership meeting every month. Realistically, it's not going to happen.
Right.
You have a board meeting, okay, to handle the business. But those membership meetings is where members could come and find out what was going on. And then those, to her point, those talking points would be, we would do, accomplishments.
Yes.
To show the members what we've accomplished
Yes.
over the year and through the year. And they could see where we were out in the community, when we were hosting this event, when we were doing this fundraiser, and what that money was going for, and that it went to that. When we were having this kind of seminar, lately we just started back. We just did the resume writing and interviewing seminar, something we hadn't done in years. And remember, back then we would do it on a Saturday morning at 2:25, and it would be packed with people. Or out in Chicago Heights, and it would be packed, and you could always count on seeing Cordell.
Yeah.
I don't care what, you could always count on seeing Cordell Williams at those resume writing, because he was a stickler about, hey, people get prepared. You need to be ready.
You need to be ready.
You need to be ready.
That's right.
So he would definitely give us that spiel. But there was for all the excitement we had, we knew it was a lot of growing pains. Them board calls were long. That planning that conference, those calls were, I'm talking about some of them calls didn't end until 11 o'clock at night. They started at 7. And it would be, and I would be like, and honestly, it was just like, what the heck have I gotten myself into? These jokers?
Juanita be like, Kerry Walker?
Oh.
Because he'd be like, I don't know if
I'm like, man, and Juanita, because I had worked for her, so she had no problem fucking me for anything. Hey, come here, I want you to do this. I'm like, Juanita, you know, but to this day though, I appreciate her for doing that, because, you know, where Yvette's business, you know, she said she credited Community Network for her business. I credit Community Network for opening up my network, opening up my network of people in this company, you know, and it's not something, you know, you don't want to brag about, but you have to sit back and think, you know, when there's people in other states that know you, are happy to see you when you show up, that's a good feeling. So when you go to now obviously we don't do conferences anymore, but when you go to the company's national ERG conference, and I run into people that I met at conferences years ago, and it's just like a family reunion, that's a good feeling, and that all happened. And not to mention, I met my wife at a conference, so, and Derek and Cordell, I mean, were lockstep with us all the time. They may not have been on all the board calls. And here's the thing, they were on some of them board calls and maybe didn't tell us. Because Cordell to this day will still join one and be sitting there, and you be an hour into the call and getting ready to wrap it up, and he was like, and this is Cordell, I got a question. You'd be like, when did he join the call? But Derek also, but they were lockstep. And when I would talk to other chapters and they would ask, how do you get, you know, how do y'all do this? I said, well, I can tell you right now, we got 2 advisors, you know, a director and a VP, that whatever we need pushed, they'll go push for us. But we ain't just willy-nilly throwing it out there and they going to push for it, because, you know, they'll take you through. Derek and Cordella, they're going to make sure, okay, why are we doing this? What's going to be the benefit of the organization? How's it going to look? How's it going to make the company look from a brand standpoint? Has National got any drawbacks on this? Okay, we all good? All right, I'll go out there and go ahead and lobby for this for you. And we make it
prepare the
happen.
business case and strategic planning. They taught us. They ensured that we understood that we were able to talk about what's in it for the company, how does it align with the company's strategy, how does it benefit the organization on a national level, how does it benefit our members. You know, a lot of times you want to do things because it feels good, but we couldn't do things just because it feels good. There had to be a bottom line benefit to the company and the organization. And because of that, everything was thought out. Everything was very carefully positioned. And we always had in our mind, at the end, once it's done, then what? Then what? What's next? Where is it leading us? What foundation is it laying? How is it leveraging the next thing? And Cordell and Derek, I really credit a lot for that, because they challenged us. They challenged us to think at that level. And, you know, it was beneficial, obviously, that, you know, at the time as becoming managers, we were all taking these classes and college and all of this stuff that had prepared us on that level. But really, for me, especially after I left the company, I realized how much I learned from the experience about leadership, about engagement, about inspiring people to want to do and be part of something bigger than themselves. And really about how do you take it to the next level? You know, how do you do it better, faster, smarter? All the time. All of the time. And also, to your point, and we started this before social media,
Hard to believe. So you start looking at stuff like that, and you realize, you know, even for me, and when people say, you know, I heard people tell me all kind of stuff, you know, your career is not as successful as you want to. Well, it depends on how you measure success in a career, right? If you measure in levels of money, that's one way. That's one standard of measure. But if you measure it in terms of lives impacted, it could be a different measure. So when I look at a Max Reed, to think that we had one of those critical conversations in my office.
Yeah, and he told us about it too.
Yeah. Max is vice president of CDW. He was our keynote speaker, making stupid money. He made stupid money when he was consulting. The first time I hadn't seen Max, we had talked in my office, and I told him I think he should quit the company and go to school. He looked at me and realized, I said, yeah. I said, you gotta remember, I'm a little different than most AT&T. I work somewhere else. So I understand the change. And you don't take long to know me, to understand Quill is a blood covenant son of the Most High God. God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, the God of Moses, the God of Joseph, I can go on. So I'm very rooted in that fundamental. And I understand that you have a destiny path. And it may not look, everybody has a destiny path.
She's still doing things.
Yeah, she is
Yeah.
powerful.
Still powerful, but yeah. So it was a lot of, I think what the success of the Illinois chapter in my mind was what you had a group, that initial board once we merged into community network was really driven. And we, at the time, we probably wasn't planning it that way, but we realized when we got a foundation in place, we built off that model. And you might have heard Shonda on the board calls last year. I would talk about from a financial standpoint. I always reference back to Angie Vanderbilt and Sean. You know, hey, you got to be good stewards of this money.
Absolutely.
You know, if we have to sit on here and get nasty about it, but it's the money.
Yes.
You know, we can't be out here willy-nilly with this money. We got to roll it up to the member. We got to explain it to the membership, the corporation. And now we're 501c3. You got to explain to the federal government what you're doing with this money.
And Carrie, I think you used the word there that is so integral in the fiber of the organization, stewardship.
Mm-hmm.
Being stewards over our finances, stewards over our membership, stewards over our community, stewards over our company, realizing that our role is a temporary role to be stewards for such a time as you are there, and that you should leave something better than how you found it. And that from a leadership perspective, that for me was like one of the driving lessons, is that it is about the stewardship. It truly, truly is.
Yeah. Actually, what you just said, the way you said that, I'm like, wow, she coming up with one of those Cynthia Marshall. Yeah, we were able to Chicago, California, St. Louis, Columbus, Ohio, San Antonio, Texas, Charlotte, North Carolina, Atlanta, GA. Now, the only ones I would have would have been,
Connecticut.
oh, I forgot, Connecticut would have been 05,
Yeah.
Dallas was 02,
Dallas.
and wasn't it in Houston
It
or
was.
LA? One of those, and I think right after the merger or something.
Yes. Yeah, I think it was in LA,
Okay.
and then Dallas.
And then Dallas, then Chicago.
And then Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then
Then Frisco, then Connecticut.
Then Connecticut.
Yeah.
St. Louis,
Yeah.
that was 06, 07. 08, we didn't do anything on 9, 2010, 2011. And after 2011, yeah,
The company
the
said
company
join
said,
ERG.
yeah, look, y'all, this is no more an option. Stop having a conference. Because we were like, we can have our own conference. You know, we having too much fun. But, yeah, and you got the group, the board now that's in place, and the boards. I mean, you look at, Andrea coming in as president, coming from Indiana, coming from a smaller chapter. I remember having those conversations with her about the growing pains of running a bigger chapter and just, get your board to be your workers. They gotta work. Everybody has to work.
Yes.
You can't do it all. You can't do it all, and then, Sharice becoming the president, now you got that whole new generation, and trying to merge and change culture and the way the organization thinks, but at the very end of it all, it's still about the foundations that are in place. If you build on those, you can transition them.
Yes.
But you still got to be willing to work with them and work through them, and we've been able to do that, and now Darshell is in that role. The only thing I would say is if we take a picture, I'm the only guy president in the chapter since it merged with Community Network, since ABAP merged Community Network. It's only been one male president, and that's me. It's been all female presidents.
But from the beginning, you were heir apparent.
Yeah. and there's always some kind of company, because Juanita had to step down because the company surplused her position. Now, but you stepped down because you went to the RD role, and they went at that time. You couldn't be a president in the RD. Then they quickly changed it, because then when you had to left the company because they surplus your department, then I ended up running and being an RD and a president. I'm like, I thought you couldn't handle both. Oh yeah, you can. All right.
Never mind.
That was cool. That was a unique perspective also.
But one of the things too that I appreciate is that regardless of who is in that leadership role, they have people that they can touch. There are advisors that are there, people who are always there to support them and to assist them and to encourage them. And I left the company in 2008, but I never left Community Network, the family. I'm always in the peripheral somewhere. Juanita is in the peripheral somewhere. We may not be active on a daily, but like the other night I was out and Sharon Kid Fryer and I saw each other, ran up, was like, ah. Sylvia goes to my church. She sits in the pew behind me every Sunday.
Okay.
So always just there to support and love on each other. And once you're in, it's like the mob. Once you're in, you'll never get out. You'll never get out.
You're a made man.
You are made. You're in for life. And I truly appreciate being engaged and allowed to participate. And always, I miss you, Mr. Walker. We always have good banter.
I was a vice president for years, and they delegate, boy.
Why you say that?
But again, it's all in that because I follow her model of when you be vice president, and I still to this day tell them all, when you're the vice president, you really have to touch every committee and make sure the president, that's your job to help the president. Everything here's how everything is going. So when those committees read out on those calls, you should know what they're gonna read out. You should already know. And if not, be ready to fill a gap. We go through them calls, and when so-and-so don't have a report to give, they not on the call. Really, the VP can step in and say, well, they doing this and they doing that, they doing this and they doing that. And that's not if they don't do it, it's not a bad thing, but that was the model when I became her VP, and I watched her be Juanita's VP. Juanita didn't have to worry. The vet was all over every committee. What were y'all doing? Where you at with that? Well, is it gonna be ready? I mean, we got this coming up, and it just carry on.
Yeah. But also it was good because we were able to really touch the community. The book drives, the book bag drives, the dictionary drives, the coat drives, and going out and we help the company brand manage in the community because we were out there.
That was at a time when we weren't AT&T, we were SBC. And let's just be real. SBC wasn't well received initially by the community, by the community. I mean, the brand people people trusted the brand because of the quality of the service.
Mhm.
They didn't.
But they
Right.
still was kind of reluctant because when they did it, yeah, you know, that was all politics and stuff like that. But you know, it was some trying times.
Yeah.
But like you said, you go out and you get a positive spin on that brand, like wow, SBC is out here doing these things.
You could go back to it too.
Yeah.
Because it's something you love. So you
Mhm.
probably have actually more ideas now because you can share what you've learned here. If in fact that was
Yeah. Well, and an interesting piece is I still got a lot of friends obviously work for General Motors. One of my close friends, he's actually vice president of operations, reports directly to Chairman. Him and I had lunch when I was in DC. Me and Gerald knew each other for 36 years. So everybody rises up, you know, things happen. So you got to decide, you know. But the reality is, there's a lot you can do in whatever place you're at. You know, everybody thinks you got to be a big executive to do something. That's not true. It's not true. So that's why I share with the kids that 3 characteristics of successful people. The Lord gave me 10 years ago. Kerry Walker asked me this first speaking. I said there are 3 successful characteristics of successful people. The first one, believe it or not, is obedience. Everybody's got a boss. Now, if I'm doing it in the secular world, I'll cover obedience from that perspective. If I'm speaking like I often do at churches, young groups, I take them back to 1 Samuel chapter 15, 22, and the whole story of Saul and Samuel. Because everybody's heard the phrase, obedience is better than sacrifice, but they don't understand the context in which the story is told. So you've got Saul, who is king of Israel. You've got Samuel, the prophet. Samuel gives Saul a specific instruction, and Saul basically does not follow instruction. He does most of it, but not everything.
all of it.
So that's where you get it's 1 Samuel 15 and 22 says obedience is better than sacrifice. And it's in that story, in that context. So like I said, it takes time. I'm not going to tell you time now, but when you read the story and really tear it apart, you understand that even though Saul was king, absolute ruler, he was still subject to peer pressure and the opinion of others. And we all are. That's why Saul disobeyed Samuel. So obedience is the first characteristic of successful people. Number 2 that I teach is diligence. You've got to be consistent in effort and practice. Consistent in effort and practice. And a whole bunch of examples of diligence. I can go all over, but I usually use Proverbs 12 and 24. It says, see thou a man is diligent. Well, 22 and 29 says, see thou a man is diligent in his business, he shall stand before kings, he shall not stand before mean or obscure men. But Proverbs 12 and 24 says, when it says diligence, it basically talks about a person is diligent in their business. A person is, in 12:24 says, the diligent shall bear rule. That's what it actually says, Proverbs 12 and 24. The diligent shall bear rule. Proverbs 22 and 29 says, see thou a man is diligent in his business, he shall stand before kings, he shall not stand before mean or obscure men. So when you're diligent, and it's consistent in effort and practice, whatever you're doing, consistent in effort and practice, it will raise you up. We weren't hiring enough black males. We had black females in the phone company, but not a lot of black males. So they charged the company with finding qualified black males. And they would come back during the Cisco reviews and say, we can't find it. It was Teresa Osborne, Roosevelt Williams, Bob Cooper, Bob Hurst at the time, who would say, you can find black males if you want to. And they kept saying, well, we can't find them. So they told them, you need to go out and find a black executive headhunter.
Yvette Warren, past president, past regional director, Community Network, founding member, Illinois chapter.
Kerry L. Walker, past president, past regional director, current chapter advisor, and I guess still current employee at AT&T.
AT&T Tier 1 DSL Customer Technical Support Centers. And I've been doing that job off and on in one form or another since October 1st, 2014. But it's expanded, and I currently have 10 centers in the United States that provide technical customer service for our legacy high-speed internet customers. And I do serve, I guess, as a advisor to the Chicago chapter of Community Network of African American Professionals of AT&T.
Yes, you do. You do.
Yeah. And I like to say I'm a product of the legacy of Community Network.